And Dean wants to know if Sam could hack the server. And Sam says that the feed is on an encrypted Tor server. It's dark web stuff. Even if he could hack it, it would take days. Who could crack it in an hour? The FBI could. And I'm sorry to tell you, no, they couldn't. That's not how Tor works. It's not how the dark web works. It's not how things works at all. And we're going to talk about how things work, kind of. This is lore. And so this episode has human body parts being auctioned off on the dark web for monsters' dietary needs. And while the trafficking for the purpose of organ removal is a growing form of trafficking, most dark web marketplaces mainly sell drugs and malware, not organs or people. Stories of people being trafficked over the dark web are usually much exaggerated or misreported, and would take the case of British glamour model Chloe Ayling. In 2017, it was normal for Phil Green, Chloe Ayling's agent, to be contacted about a photo shoot for his client. And when an Italian photographer named Andre Lazio emailed about asking to book a motorbike photo shoot with Chloe, there was nothing about the request that seemed out of the ordinary. Phil told the Mirror, I carried out due diligence, asked questions about the job, checked his website, asked where and when the shoot would take place, got the address of the studio, and checked examples of his previous work. All the boxes were ticked. I've been doing this job for 30 years, and I always carry out checks because there's no way you could predict something like this. His studio was called Balise Mafik. I even checked the address in Google Maps. Chloe was more than happy to take the job, and he paid 900 euros up front. So Chloe trots off to Paris, but as luck would have it for her, she arrived just as a terror attack occurred and all hell was breaking loose. The photographer called to cancel the shoot, saying his studio had been ransacked in the chaos. For her trouble, the photographer even went by Chloe's hotel to give her 90 euros for the day. A couple of days later, an email with an apology came to Phil, and the photographer asked to book Chloe for Milan on July 11th, asking for her measurements so they could have leathers made. So again, nothing seems out of sorts. This is all seems legit. Chloe goes to Milan, stays a night in a hotel, and the next day goes to the studio. As she stepped into the space, her instinct that something was wrong was confirmed when a masked man grabbed her and covered her mouth with a gloved hand. He then pinned her around the neck. A second man rushed in, wrestled her to the ground, and injected her hand with a syringe of what was later said to be ketamine. Chloe awoke in total darkness with tape across her mouth, which she was able to peel off with her handcuffed hands, and she soon sussed out that she was inside a bag. And she found a way to get a little hole. There was like a hole in the zipper, so she found a way to get the zipper open, only to realize to her horror that she was in the trunk of a moving car. So she starts pounding on the car. The car comes to a stop. The attackers come back out. They retape her mouth when she was like, what's going on? Put her back in the trunk. Car starts going again, and then it stops a second time. And this time one of the men get out and they get into the trunk with her and they like spoon her. Ugh. I don't know why that grosses me out so much. Like, he doesn't even do anything sexual to her as far as I know. He just spoons her. But I don't like it. So the destination, it was like a 200-mile drive from Milan. So I don't know how long this poor girl had to be spooned. So at the farmhouse, one of her captors, it's Lucas, so it's Lukaszz, as he's Polish. Lukasz Herba told Chloe that she had been kidnapped by 2 foot soldiers from the Black Death, and that as a senior member of Black Death, he had come to rescue her because her kidnapping was a mistake. You see, the Black Death doesn't believe in kidnapping mothers, and she has a son. He also said he was risking his life to help her, and she shouldn't try to escape because there were Black Death agents everywhere watching her. So, to further restrain her, she was handcuffed to furniture at first, but by the second night, Herba offered Chloe his bed to sleep in, minus the handcuffs, and she said yes. Chloe said at this time her main goal was to get Herba to feel sorry for her, and his feelings became more and more obvious when he asked if they could become a couple, and Chloe dangled maybe when I'm released, which only excited him. He told Chloe they had met before in that hotel in Paris where he paid for that photo shoot, and she didn't recognize him then because he was wearing sunglasses. He asked Chloe who could pay a ransom for her, and she came up with some names, and he started emailing her agent Phil. Chloe's mom became worried when she didn't hear anything from her, and she frantically called Phil too. He reached out to the photographer, didn't get anything back, and then he received a ransom email which said, "We have Chloe, and we are the Black Death group. Unless you pay money to us by Sunday, she will be put to auction, where she may get sold to the Russian mafia." The email also contained the names of 3 wealthy businessmen whose names Phil thought Chloe had given them. Phil reached out to the authorities, and they took over emailing the kidnappers. The kidnappers sent a picture of Chloe passed out on the floor in only her pink bodysuit and clearly drugged out. The kidnappers demanded £270,000, but the police said they could only do £20,000. Back at the farmhouse, Erba told them this offer was made and said that it wasn't enough money, but he would let her go if she promised that she would send 50,000 euros in Bitcoin and help publicize the Black Death as a leading terror organization when she was released. And she was like, "What? I don't understand, but okay, whatever, just let me go."
Yeah.
So he drives her to the consulate in Milan, but it was closed, so they went and got breakfast. And there was witnesses who saw them having breakfast together and said it looked kind of like a normal meal with laughter and things going on. But okay. So the consulate opened. He walked Chloe in, telling Chloe to say that he was a friend that she had called to pick her up after escaping from her kidnappers. And the police are like, "Okay, well, what's his phone number?" And she's like, "Oh, crap." So she couldn't come up with it. And so she ends up breaking down and she tells him the whole story, most of it. She left out the part where she and Herba went shopping in the village for shoes, where they were seen holding hands. Yeah. So Herbert was arrested. He phoned his mother to try and get her to erase his emails and destroy his car. He gave her his password, which was twat1.
No.
It's just my favorite password ever. What? It's so bad. Okay, so he was not successful in hiding any evidence, obviously. The prosecution brought in more than 50 witnesses, including those who testified that before the kidnapping, they had seen Herbert trying to science up some ricin and cyanide at home, all while performing searches on his computer for Chloe Ayling, Black Death, and sex trafficking. He also texted his brother, "Buy a big trip bag. Very big. You know for what purpose it serves, so you know how big it should be." He's not very smart. So Chloe would be kept in Italy for another 3 weeks by the court. At Erba's pretrial hearing, Chloe would finally learn the truth, that he was not in the Black Death. He was the one who had planned everything. During his trial, Erba would try and explain that Chloe was in on it the whole time, that she was in financial straits and this was for publicity. But there was no evidence to support this. There was no Facebook messages, no emails or text messages between them. Herbert would be described by prosecutors as a narcissist and a fantasist who was obsessed with Miss Ayling, and he would be sentenced to 16 years for kidnapping, extortion, and carrying false documents, which would be reduced on appeal. But his insinuation of Chloe being an accomplice would soon be echoed by the press. Why was Chloe seen holding hands with him in the village? Why would she go shopping with her captor? Why was she smiling for cameras instead of crying? She did a lot of interviews when she came back. And Chloe attributes some of this to her recent autism diagnosis and said that she would react in the wrong way. And she said, if I was told I was being off, I would smile and just had the wrong reactions to things. So she thinks she was not acting correct in front of the camera, and the tabloids were just using that as further fodder for like why she was wrong. So,
and
but
Stockholm syndrome, maybe,
kind of, sort of, and a lot of naivety too. Like she thought this was a terrorist group,
and that
right?
he was the one that was going to help her get away,
and that there was a ton of people that were out to kill her and her family, right?
Yeah.
So Chloe dumped her agent, Phil Green, once she got back to the UK. He said, "I wish her all the best, but I hope this doesn't come back to bite her," he said to the Mirror. Chloe says that this was because he compromised her safety and not for ambition. Chloe would publish a book and then go on Celebrity Big Brother, lasting 13 days and being the second contestant voted out. Chloe's story would become a 6-part BBC series, Kidnap, the Chloe Ayling story, and the BBC documentary, Chloe Ayling, My Unbelievable Kidnapping. Urban would claim to have been in love with Chloe, and he did all this to boost her fame. His brother Michael would be arrested, convicted to 16 years and 8 months, which is actually longer than his brother's sentence, which is kind of fucked up. And that was later reduced to 5 years and 8 months. And one of the consequences of this kidnapping are a number of sites that indicate that Chloe was abducted by a gang called Black Death and that they sell people, particularly women, on the dark web. CNN ran the headline, British model kidnapped for dark web auction, Italian police say. And Fox News had British model kidnapped in Italy to be auctioned off on pornographic website on the dark web. And these claims were untrue. The Sun reported that the Black Death group had advertised girls in Europe. Vice has tried to interact with an online Black Death after finding a link on Reddit, only to be jerked around. And that site wanted money to be paid before letting a user participate in auction for advertised women for sale. In 2015, a group called Black Death showed up on both on the dark web and the regular interwebs. Interpol investigated the group in 2015. Europol captured screenshots from the website called Black Death in 2016, where it listed services like blackmail, murder, guns, bombs, drugs, and trafficked women. They also posted jobs for positions like super hacker. And there is no evidence that any of these listings were real or just scams, right? So like with the Vice people, they're basically saying, you have to buy your way into this auction. So likely just give us your money and then you're never going to get the link to the auction.
Wouldn't it be really embarrassing for someone who was a super hacker to get scammed by applying to the super hacker job?
I just would like to know what the super hacker job interview was. You know, that would be really great.
It's just a scam and there wasn't even like really a job. I'm like, damn, the super hacker should have known.
Super hackers should have known. You would think they would. So BuzzFeed quoted Will Kerr, director of vulnerabilities at the National Crime Agency. From an economic standpoint, the sex trafficking business model simply does not make sense on the dark web. Traffickers are motivated by money and therefore want to reach the largest audience possible in order to maximize revenue. There is simply not enough in the general population on the dark web to make the dark web advertising for this purpose. In addition, sex trafficking usually masquerades as at-will prostitution, making it easy for this content to live largely on the public web. Child porn content, on the other hand, is exchanged in much more closed circles, making a better candidate for dispersal on the dark web. So, and from what I understand of just what's happening now, most of the trafficking is happening over social media, it's happening over regular websites, and over encrypted messaging apps like Telegram, where that's been going on for years. It's just like they said, it doesn't make economic sense to traffic people on the dark web. So when you see the sites being like, oh, there's a woman being auctioned off on the dark web, it's probably not true. I'm not saying that sex trafficking isn't true and obvious and an issue and that it doesn't happen over the internet. I'm also not saying that the dark web is not used for, there's also used for a lot of things, including a lot of sexual exploitation material. So a lot of the content producing of, basically OnlyFans people being forced to do things like those content subscription models is really prevalent. And people are using cryptocurrencies and other things in order to buy those and keep themselves anonymous. So it's definitely a problem. However, and of course, monsters are not online buying food. They just the TV trope of the dark web, like they're auctioning off, selling off people is not something that has ever been proven to have been happened. I'm saying it's never happened
at a prevalent level. Yeah.
There's no evidence of it ever happening. So
it makes sense though, what you're saying.
Yeah, and
if you think about it that way.
It's like the dark web is not a mystical fairyland. It's really easy to see what's on there. In almost all of the marketplaces, you can find out what's on the dark web on the clear web. You can just Google search and just do tour markets, and it'll give you a breakdown of like what the top markets are and what they're selling on them. And you can just go look at that. And most of it is just going to be drugs and crimeware and shit like that. So
I recently saw an old episode of Portlandia, and they used the dark web, and it was pretty
dark web.
I feel slightly relieved and still grossed out.
Yeah, and this is just my 2 cents on on the. I don't think that Chloe Ayling was faking anything. I think she was kidnapped by a obsessed fan the obsessed fan used the Black Death as a way to terrorize her and her
Yeah.
friends and to try and cover up their kidnapping.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Unfortunately, she got caught in a kidnapping
It'd be
of an obsessed stalker.
It'd be a much more fascinating story if she was in on it, though.
I mean, that's
as awful as that is, but
it's awful. I mean, the thing is, like, it sucks for him to be like, oh no, like to try to turn this, like, to turn it on her, like fuck you, man. Like, you know, this is your fan obsession, not mine. You know, I mean, she's a glamour model, so I find that fascinating. That's a term that's used in Britain more than it is over here, and I think it means some different things there than it means over here. But so her reputation though went up and down a lot because of this. So like even wouldn't make sense to be a publicity stunt, right? Like it was something that could easily have backfired on her. And she had a lot of missteps in her conversations because she didn't tell the police about the holding of the hands, and she left some stuff out. And there was also her being seen in public with him, you know. So I watched the BBC, the mockumentary, you know. So I didn't watch the documentary. I watched the dramatic one, and it was 6 episodes, man. So that was a lot of Chloe. But you know, and she was an EP on that, so I feel like it was kind of close to it. I didn't read her book. I read excerpts from her book though, so I feel like the dramatization was close on it. But I think he was obsessed with her, and
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and was not the best criminal in the world. But sometimes you don't have to be the best criminal, you know, just come up with a pretty good story. And like you can, you know, he kept them going for a little bit. I mean, he had her for 6 days. That's a long time.
That is.
So I think it was a traumatic experience for her. I'm glad she's safe, and just don't believe that you can buy people. You don't buy people off the dark web.
How about don't buy people?
Don't buy people, I think, is a general good thing. All right, so we're gonna go back to our episode.